And then we are now going to welcome on our next guest. We've got Moheeb Zara, who is
Hi, everyone.
the coolest.
Right, yeah. So I've got a couple of things to show you all. I'm gonna just share my screen here. All right. How do I do that? Okay. Just one moment. All right. Yeah. So I've been working on a couple of different things lately. So this talk is about subverting software hegemony through ethical practices with ethically dubious LLMs. So first off, my name is Moheeb. I'm at VirtualVox on most things. I hack the hardwares. I'm a partner at DevEco Consulting. There's a QR code that takes you to our link tree. You can find out about business partners, some of our other projects, some of our clients we work with. We do developer relations. I've been doing that kind of stuff for 10 years. So things all over the place, from building robots to art installations to creating documentation to technical content and guides. I work out of HeatSync Labs, a 501c education nonprofit in Mesa, Arizona. And here's just a couple of things I've worked on. So as you can guess, I have lots of ADHD. So I have a lot of projects I always want to work on. This is another one. If you look up ASAN, the Autonomous Space Agency Network, I'll let the Googling explain that one for you. But what this is about is more of there's a lot of tech companies that do bad things, right? And so the question becomes, LLMs are out now and they're not perfect, and a lot of the companies have unethical practices, but unfortunately it's rapidly becoming the standard practice. And so I wrestled with it for a while, where, at this point, I could just get left behind, or I could consider consolidating using one bad thing to help me replace as many bad things as possible that we're dependent on. And if you have the hardware, you can always use open source LLM. So there's lots of ways to use it in practice that can be more ethical and potentially fully ethical, right? If you're using an ethically sourced and trained LLM. Because then it gives you the ability to deploy your own tools on more ethical cloud platforms. And when it takes a day to do 3 years of work, you don't feel as incentivized to make profit off of the work. And it feels easier, more comfortable to open source it. And then as a result of that, more people use evil software less. And what do I mean by evil software, right? There's a lot of different opinions people might have about what some companies do, but there are plenty of big cloud companies that eat up all the competition. They make solutions that just cut time to market down, right? They're really not that complicated. It's just they have the R&D resources and the time to make those solutions at scale. And now a lot of that can be built bespoke with an LLM quickly, like in a day in some cases. And there are some, very few, unfortunately, decent cloud providers like DigitalOcean and OVH that aren't invested in human death and suffering, as far as I know. And they treat their employees well, again, as far as I know. And when you are able to make these things where you're not worried about profit, you can make super powerful solutions, open source it, and or make it free and cheap. And then you aren't incentivized, by money, because ultimately that can kind of corrupt your thinking. There's also no need for ever expanding ad campaigns and government contracts, no pressure from investors to curb your morals, just so you can deliver growth and profit targets. So here's some of the things I've been building. Again, I have ADHD, so it's a lot of different things. The one that I'm most excited about is Lumen Canvas.studio, and I'll show you that here. I built this over 6 months using LLMs to assist me. Things that would have taken me years really to do. It's stuff I know how to do. It's just I don't have that kind of time or resources to really build that out. I need a team, and it's something I've been wanting to build for years, and now I have the opportunity to do it and make it accessible. It's a browser-based projection mapping platform. It's significantly cheaper, and my issue was, right, when I did a lot of work with projection mapping and creating art installations, it was very expensive for a seat for licensing for this software, and I needed a powerful machine, and then I would have to leave that machine at a gallery, Uh, so that's been a huge problem for me. Is and part of why I really stopped doing projection mapping professionally is I didn't have the money to like kind of kickstart like having multiple software licenses, having projectors, and having computers I could leave at a gallery. And then another project that I worked on, and I know Sid likes this one quite a bit, is Zinester.com. This was built in 2 days. This is another idea I wanted to make. It's not something I would have been able to do in a reasonable time frame with my own work and things I've in my personal life. But through the use of being responsible with an LLM, I was able to make this zine making app, and it's privacy focused. Like there's no accounts, there's no marketplace, there's no ads. It's just a very simple document editor that exports into a zine format. And then LaunchQ, which I built over the span of a week, which is a project management CRM that helps me manage my projects as a developer relations engineer. So it's specifically around projects and clients and notes and things like that of where I want to put my docs and what I'm working on and what blog posts and Hackster guides. It's a way to help me organize, but I open source that to make it easier for people to kind of roll that into their own thing. Same with Zinster.com. So, and with LaunchQ, I just got annoyed with all the projection or the project management software that was out there. It just didn't feel like it was catered to what an individual needs. It was catered more to, trying to, a lot of the software out there is catered to trying to push companies into really spending more in learning and using their platform differently. And a few things that I have in progress is AsuRTTY. I don't know how to pronounce that yet, but it's a browser-based tool for managing SSH connections and T2I over WebUSB. And another tool I just wish was easier to have and wouldn't have been able to do or share if I tried to spend the time amongst everything else in my life. And then Ossuary, which is a series of self-deployed solutions I've been working on for deploying serverless functions and other certain things a certain cloud platform might provide to developers. All right. With that, I'm going to switch over my demos here. So I'll start with Zinester. So this is when you go to Zinester.com. Right out the gate, reminds you that all of this is stored just in your local browser window. And it's so there's no cloud storage. You're not going to be monitored. And the reason for this is zines tend to be used as a form of creating political content, right? To disseminate information, to help with activism. And I wanted to make sure that people who were making zines on this felt comfortable that they weren't being monitored. There's no tracking in this, and it's completely open source. So if people want to modify it themselves, it's all there. There's a bunch of sample zines. You can pick different zine formats. So if you're not familiar with what a zine is, it's essentially, in general, it's usually a single page booklet or a single page that you print, and then you cut and fold it in a couple of quick ways and you get a little booklet. So there's a classic 8-page zine. You can do a half fold page zine, 16 letter, and I have one for doing more pages on a half letter. So for example, let's lock it down. So this is a basic zine that's 4 pages. So just like you would expect any other document editor, and it exports it it takes all those pages and exports it in the way you would expect to print that zine. Here is, pull up another sample. And I have it set so you can also export all your projects into JSON and then upload them again. That way, if you're like, because the way it works, if you reset your browser and like if you do like a hard refresh, you'll lose all your data because it's not stored in the cloud. Here's another example. So this is an 8-page zine. You can edit, do all your text in here. You can even use a pen tool. It works on mobile and tablets, and it what's going on there? Just gonna refresh that real quick. And then it can export into a PDF or an image, which you can print out, and you can determine if you want the cut lines or the the fold lines and the numbers. And like I said, this took like 2-3 days, maybe a week, um, of just working with a lot of different tools and describing what I wanted, being very clear about the frameworks I was using. So you still have to know a little bit to get it to work really well. But for already experienced developers and people who are learning or want to make things, these can be powerful tools to build things we can use to make things better, right? And at the end of the day, there really is no ethical way to do a lot of cloud development, as there are a lot of issues with how LLMs are provided, but there's also a lot of issues with uh, all the tools that we already use. Everything you're using on the web, a lot of it is hosted on platforms that aren't good for the environment. So if we can take one thing to use it to reduce how we're using the rest of the web and the rest of the tools we're using, then it's using the tool of those that harm us to make things better for everyone. And so, yeah, so there's that. And this is all on GitHub. Another fun thing is I added a radio in here. So it has a lot of punk related radio channels. For some reason, when I was working on this, it felt weird to have a very quiet website. And then, yeah, so this is all on GitHub. Everything's in here, well documented. So if you wanted to improve on it, it's all in TypeScript. There's another branch if anybody's curious on helping me or interested in helping me make this better. I've been kind of struggling with it. I'm trying to make it work with using IPFS so that you can publish projects and then share them and use kind of like these IPFS hashes to determine where it is. So it's not on any central cloud, but if you wanted to make a public zine, you can then publish it through the IPFS network, where it kind of splits off across all the nodes. So it's preserved forever. Because I felt like without a cloud, and if you wanted to share these, unfortunately we live in a time where a lot of content gets lost. So I was been trying to explore how to combine that with IPFS to try to make a way for people to make books that exist forever. Right, so that's Zinester, and then LaunchQ is. Let me pull that link up over here. So this is the CRM I mentioned. So again, this was just like a week of hacking vibe coding, I guess. And so it has all these, and you can changes however you need. All the instructions on how to use and build it are in here. Lets you do things like if you wanted to use your own AI model to do brain dumps, where you can pull all my notes from this project or folder, and then turn that into actionable items. So it can actually create action items that go into your calendar. There's for example, like right here, there's a way to set up campaigns. So you can set up step-by-step tasks. Again, I made this all because I struggle with managing my own tasks, and I needed something that was specific to my needs. So it has all the task management there. Per project, you can have checklists, and there's a whole notes taking system, full project calendar. You can do by different projects and campaigns. And there's also an API built in. So if you deploy this, you can set up API keys and do your own automations around that. And some people have expressed interest in maybe adapting this for hackerspace management. So this is all on my GitHub. Again, github.com/virgilvox. If you just look up LaunchQ. And then last but not least, this is the project I said I was most excited about. This is Lumen Canvas. So this has been a labor of love. So again, if you're not familiar with projection mapping, it's the idea is you project images and different content, and then you warp that in your editor while so a projector skews the image, right? So if you're pointing a projector at one angle at some shape or wall or building, you can skew the images so that when they're actually projected, they look like they're on the surface of that object. The software that exists for that, again, is very expensive. It's inaccessible. Some of it you can't even get without being a large company. And I wanted to make it something that should be for everybody. Projectors are cheap. You can get projectors for $20 to $50 now that have Android built in. And so, and it being in the web opens the door to a lot of different possibilities. So this enables you to use images, videos, live streams, web content, shaders, GIFs, P5.js, which is processing, but for JavaScript, in-browser AI models. So I have a small AI model that runs in browser locally for doing segmentation, for creating masks. There's some examples of what I've done with the software. So this is just on Shapes at Home. That's a small Pico projector. This projector was maybe $30. This is me using the auto masker to mask my home. That one's my parents' house. And yeah, so this is free. Like I said, I did put a pricing model on here. That's really for covering cloud costs, but you can do most things. I mean, I've mostly used it just using the free tier because all the features are enabled there. This is an example of the editor here. So this is a processing sketch. So where you can use JavaScript to create animated visuals. So for example, I can create this mesh, and now I can warp that around. So I would open a projector, which is another URL, and this would run on my, I could either cast this using Chromecast to my projector, or I could, just, it's a tab, so just open that in the other projector window. Or if you have another machine running it, you can make that link public. You can make that link public and give that to, say, if you're running an art installation, and this was part of why I made this, is you could say, hey, plug in a Raspberry Pi to your projector at your, gallery or wherever, and then open up a Chrome browser to this link. And then if you ever need me as an artist to come and change the projections or adjust anything, I can remotely control it by turning it on through sync. And now I can live edit that projection. So like anything I do here immediately gets reflected here. And so you could set up a webcam and adjust the project at a gallery. I've added mesh warping. So if you have a rectangular shape, you could do something like this. And this, lets you hold these control points that let you control all control points in a row or in a column, or individual control points. And this is all happening live in the browser using web GPU. So this took quite a while to optimize. And then, control offset, how that looks. And do things like apply different filters and effects. And this uses an open source library called Pixie.js for doing a lot of this. But so, for example, I can add in, let's say, this is my favorite filter here, which adds ASCII, and then we'll add a ripple effect, and we can make it do some crazy stuff. Or, add a glitch. And then you can also embed HTML. So this right here is another code editor. This one loads a little slowly. Let's give that a moment. Where you can do things like, say you want to do an esports dashboard. This enables full JavaScript, full HTML. And then you can add and warp that, and then enable HTML interaction. So now this becomes a locked layer. And if I'm in full screen, my cursor will only show up on those interactive HTML layers. And so if you wanted to do something like, create a control dashboard for a robot or something like that, you could have it where you project it onto, an amorphous shape, and then still control it through, say, like web USB if you wanted to use a gamepad. And so you can create kind of your own spaces and infrastructure, or, set up for an event where you might want a video stream, some cool visuals, or HTML. And there's a bunch of other things. So I'll just wrap up here. Again, you can do URLs, HTML, shaders. So if you're familiar at all with shaders, it's what makes visuals work. Because shaders are hard, I added a small bespoke model trained on Llama for making shader code. So you can describe the visuals you want right in here. And again, apply filters and effects. So you can do all sorts of cool different animations. So which aren't working right now for some reason, but so yeah, that's what I've been working on. So please give this a try. There's a community button there, so if you're interested in ever giving feedback or anything like that.
That was awesome. Thank you so
We
much.
love all of these projects. I mean, I have been messing around in Zinester a lot lately because it's one of my. I'm always looking for really great accessible tools for making zines, and this Zinester is like probably the best one right now. So I'm very stoked on it, and it's really rad to be able to have some more folks get in there. So if you've ever been intimidated by making a zine, here's a really great open source program that you can use to do it.
I want to mention there's the electric zine maker, which is super cool.
I mean,
it was just I had different needs when I was making it, so I went a different route.
They're all good zine tools, but very different vibes.
Yeah.
Also, Robert's question here, Moheeb, when did you become such a king? I think always, actually. As far as I know, Moheeb has always been this wonderful.
As long as I've known them.
As long as I've known Moheeb, I've been like, dang.
And you guys have always been awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on and giving us a rundown of what you're working on.
Thank you. Yeah. And again, I'm at Virgil Vox on the internet. So if anybody has any questions or wants to collaborate on any projects, I'm always excited to help and teach and stuff.
Yeah, we'll talk soon. Thank you.